Texas has been picked to finish third in the Big 12 in 2021. Too high, too low, or just right? What's up, guys? BK Brad Kellner. Today is Friday, July 9th, 2021. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. Hope everyone has a great weekend. I just got out the shower. I've got a little Jimmy Neutron thing going on with my hair right now. Apologies for that. Hopefully some of you catch that reference out there. We're talking Texas football today, and we're talking about the preseason Big 12 media poll that was released yesterday. And I'm going to give my thoughts on where Texas is. And I want to hear from you guys most importantly. I'm going to open this up to the commenters. And in a video that I release next week, I'm going to respond to some of my favorite comments regarding this topic of discussion. So we're talking about where Texas fell on the Big 12 preseason media poll. Please, if you can, like this video, and if you'd be so kind, subscribe to this channel if you have not done that yet, and tap that little notification bell as well so you're always informed whenever I release new content. And this video is brought to you by Last Stand Hats. You can see the little discount code scrolling across the bottom of your screen. If you use the code BK10 at checkout, you will get 10% off your purchase from laststandhats.com. They are the best damn UT hats in all of the land. So once again, the preseason poll came out yesterday, and no surprise, who's number one? That would be Oklahoma, picked to win this league for the 6th straight year. Of course, they have won this league 6 years in a row, trying to make it 7 here in 2021. Of the 39 votes cast in the Big 12 media preseason ballots, 35 first-place votes went to Oklahoma. No big surprise there. Iowa State picked to finish second in the Big 12. They got the other 4 first-place votes. So only 2 teams racking up first-place votes this year in the Big 12. I screwed up. I did not cast my media ballot in time, but I would have had Oklahoma winning this league. They're damn good, and this might be the most complete team Lincoln Riley has ever had in Norman, and that is a very, very scary thought because he's had some pretty damn good teams in his tenure up there at OU, and this team is absolutely loaded with talent. So no surprise they've won this league 6 years in a row. It's almost like you should give them the benefit of the doubt to win this conference, but man, they're really, really good this year. They don't have a lot of weaknesses, if any weaknesses, up in Norman this season. So Oklahoma picked to finish first. No surprise there. That's the right decision. The media got that one right. Iowa State picked to finish second. I agree with that as well. I would have had the Cyclones number 2 in my ballot. They're really good, and they return more production than anybody in the Big 12. I think they're like top 10 or 15 in the country in terms of returning production from last year's squad. Of course, last year's squad went to the Big 12 title game, and they ended up winning a New Year's Six Bowl. But Brock Purdy's back. Breece Hall is back. Charlie Kohler's back. A couple of key pieces on that defense is back. Most importantly, Matt Campbell returning to Ames for another year. As a Texas fan, it'd be pretty nice to get that guy out of Ames. Same thing with Lincoln Riley. Like, can we get Lincoln Riley and Matt Campbell out of this conference, please? Those dudes are getting looks from the NFL every offseason, yet they keep turning them down. Lincoln Riley makes a little bit more sense than Matt Campbell because Oklahoma is one of the best jobs in the country. But, man, Matt Campbell really, really loves Iowa State, or he's waiting for some job out there. But Iowa State picked to finish second. Texas projected to finish third. Oklahoma State 4th. TCU 5th. West Virginia 6th. Kansas State, Baylor, Texas Tech, and Kansas rounding out the top 10, I guess all 10 in the Big 12. The lowly Kansas Jayhawks did not receive a vote higher than 10th. So there were 39 ballots cast, and all 39 had Kansas finishing last in the conference. Hard to argue with that. Like, that's more of a lock than Oklahoma winning the Big 12. Kansas finishing last in the Big 12 this year. So Texas number 3, the Longhorns had 273 points. Oklahoma State, I mentioned number 4, they had 266 points. TCU picked to finish 5th. They had 255 points. So just 18 points separating 3 through 5 in this conference, according to the Big 12 media. So there's a logjam in the middle of this league, right? Oklahoma and Iowa State are kind of in a tier of their own at the top of the league. And then there's that second tier that features the Longhorns, the Cowboys, and TCU. And you've got a little bit of a gap before you go to West Virginia at 6, and then you go all the way down to Kansas at 10. So Texas picked to finish third. My question to you guys, I've got a couple of questions for you guys. Too high, too low, or just right? Do you agree with the Big 12 media? Do you think third place in this league in year one of the Steve Sarkisian era here in Austin is a realistic finish for Texas? Or is it too high? Or is it too low? Do you think the Longhorns should be picked as one of the top 2 teams in this conference? Do you think Texas should be favored as a Big 12 championship contender here in 2021? So I want to hear y'all's thoughts on that. But the bigger question I want to ask you guys is, will it be a disappointing season if Texas finishes below 3rd in the Big 12? So now we have the media projections, right? And this is media from all over the conference. It's not just UT media, of course, who gets to vote on this thing. So representatives from all 10 media outlets, or I should say all 10 cities and media that covers the 10 teams in this conference, have pegged Texas to finish 3rd in this league. So my question is, would it be a disappointment if the Longhorns finished anywhere below 3rd? Obviously, if they finished in the top 2, I think people would be pretty excited because that means a trip to Arlington and a chance to win the Big 12. But does anything below 3 qualify as a disappointment for Steve Sarkisian in year one? For me personally, look, on its surface, every year that Texas doesn't win the Big 12 is a disappointment. Like, to me, that should be the goal every single year. With all of the resources that this program has and all of the recruits that this team brings in and year out. I mean, Texas recruits better than anybody in this league, including Oklahoma, who, of course, has had a stranglehold on the Big 12 since its inception. Just with everything that should be going in Texas's favor, every year that Texas doesn't win this league should be viewed as a disappointment. Now, I've been disappointed a lot, and I get that Texas has only won this conference 3 times, so maybe I should temper my expectations a little bit in that regard. But this year, with everything that should be considered when talking about this Texas football team in 2021, completely new coaching staff, a ton of roster turnover, more roster turnover than any team in this league. Texas is bottom 10 in the country in terms of returning production from last year's squad to this year's squad. 6 of the 7 captains from last year's team are no longer here. Of course, Sam Ehlinger, who was the do-it-all quarterback, captain, everything, 4-year starter at the most important position on the field, he's gone. You've got to replace your best defensive player in Joseph Osai, a couple of starting safeties, your leading receiver, one of your best running backs from a season ago, your best offensive lineman from a year ago. A ton of roster turnover is the point that I'm getting at, guys. So with all of those things being said, and it feels like there are more questions than answers right now with this Texas football team. Hell, we don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be, 56 days from now when the Longhorns take the field against Louisiana. We have no clue. We've all got a hunch. I think it's going to be Casey Thompson, but we don't have an announcement from Steve Sarkisian. A lot of position battles still to be decided between now and September 4th. So a lot of questions with this Texas football team. So I ask you guys, would it be a disappointment if Texas finished below 3rd? I mean, Oklahoma State's got a returning quarterback. They've got a ton of guys back from last year's squad, including on the defensive side of the football, where they were one of the best defenses in the conference. Hell, one of the better defenses in the country last season. TCU, they've got a returning quarterback, loaded in the backfield. They lose some key pieces on defense. Both of their safeties are gone. Garrett Wallow, their best linebacker, is gone, but we're talking about Gary Patterson. That dude loses important players on defense every single year and finds a way to make his defenses competitive the following season. But TCU, more returning players and a returning quarterback, something that Texas does not have. So, yeah, the question I want to ask is, would it be disappointing if Texas finishes below 3rd in the league? Would you accept anything less than a 3rd-place finish in the conference? The Vegas odds right now in terms of an over-under for the Longhorns for regular season wins this season is 8. It's right at 8. So 8-4, obviously depends. We're talking about conference standings here, so it depends on where those 4 losses come. But 8-4 might be able to get you 3rd in this league. You might need to get to 9 wins to get to 3rd place in this league. So does that 8-9 win range, does that suffice for you in year one of the Steve Sarkisian era? Or do you expect more? Right? I mentioned the lack of returning production on Texas's roster. The opposite side of the coin is Texas has tied for the 7th most blue chip talent in all of college football. In terms of percentage of the roster that are 4- and 5-star recruits out of high school, I think Texas might be tied for 6th, actually, in the country for blue chip percentage. So, yeah, even though the talent is unproven, there's still talent on this roster. And the hope is that Steve Sarkisian and this great coaching staff that he put together, I think Sark did a phenomenal job putting together his initial coaching staff, way better than what Tom Herman did, way better than what Charlie Strong did. So I think that gives me, I think that gives a lot of Longhorn fans more hope that Sark can turn things around here in Austin and turn things around relatively quickly. So you've got those things going for you if you're Texas. But once again, still feels like there are more questions than answers for this football team. So I'm done talking. I'll open it up to you guys. Once again, I will make a video next week reading my favorite comments from this video. And I want to hear from y'all. I mean, what are realistic expectations for Texas in 2021? And also, would it be a disappointment for the Longhorns to finish below third in the Big 12 this season? Now that we know the media expects Texas to finish third place in this league, would anything less than that be okay for you? Or would you start having questions about Steve Sarkisian, whether or not he's the right guy? Or are you willing to give him more time, even if Texas finishes fourth, fifth, or, God, even lower than that in year one? And what's kind of the range? Like, what's the lowest Texas can finish in the Big 12? If you're cool with them finishing below third, where's the lowest spot in this conference where they can land to where you're not asking questions about Sark, to where you still are confident that he can be the right man to finally get Texas football back to where it needs to get? Would love to hear from y'all. Thank you for watching this video. Please like this video if you haven't done so. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done that. And tap that little notification bell once again so you're always informed whenever I release new content. And be sure to listen to the Triple Option with RBKD weekdays from 3 to 7 on the Horn and online at hornfm.com. We are the flagship radio station for the University of Texas. Once again, today's video sponsor, laststandhats.com. Use that discount code. Oh, my finger got real close to the camera there. BK10 at checkout for 10% off your purchase of any Last Stand hat. All right, guys, appreciate the love. Appreciate the continued support. Y'all have a great weekend. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Y'all stay healthy. And hook 'em.